You're not the only one that has such a big patient load. You're not the only one dealing with all this government paperwork and stuff. You're not the only one dealing with all this change that's happening right now. But you know, I found that change and challenge can be the greatest stepping stone to the top. I'm sorry. I'm gonna make it up to you next time. It just doesn't take much. But this does not happen unless you and I look at life and what we do with a passion. The key is think outside the self. You've heard think outside the box for 10 years, right? It's think outside the self. Individually, we overestimate what we can do by ourselves. But together, as a team, we underestimate what we can do. Become one and enjoy the fruits of making a difference together.
And with two down, here is Hearn, who had his first big league hit in the second inning. He's a youngster who was drafted by Philadelphia. He had an appointment to the West Point Military Academy and decided he'd be a baseball player. He would have made an impressive-looking general. He's 6'3", 215.
It's way back. It is going, gone, goodbye. And Ed Hearn with his first pitch.
And a high drive to left. Back goes Stubbs, way back.
I made it to the penthouse of all my dreams as a young boy. I mean, I had sacrificed so much to be there, to get to that point. No doubt, I probably never really dreamt that I would play in the big leagues, let alone be in a World Series and be on the winning team.
He struck him out. The Mets have won the World Series. The dream has come true. The Mets have won the World Series, coming from behind to win the 7th ball game.
And so it was over. The Mets were world champions.
There's a couple of gifts I want to give to you, and one of them is a little perspective today. Just when I had life in the palm of my hand, I mean, I had it right where I wanted it. It was jerked out from underneath me.
But this is a man who, first of all, was the short end of the David Cohn trade. The Royals gave away a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, and Ed took the heat for it because he got injured right away. On top of that, when his career ended, he had a kidney transplant, a life-threatening blood disorder, and a life-threatening sleeping disorder disease. And when we interviewed him a month before, or 2 months before, he had had cancer.
So I went from the penthouse to the outhouse. What do you do when you're facing adversity, when you're facing change you think you have no control over? I was feeling sorry for myself because life had thrown me a curve. This was potentially a strikeout curve. I was having the mother of all pity parties. But it was 3 o'clock in the morning. Shades were drawn. Door was shut. It was pitch black dark. I was only 1 year out of losing my career as an athlete. Why me? All the questions we all ask. Do you remember when we were kids, we had the parties and there was always a party pooper? Well, she came that night. The door to my hospital room swung open. The light from the hall filled the room. And into the doorway walked the midnight shift nurse. And when she walked into that doorway, it got dark again in my room. She reached over, she turned on the light to my room, and I realized why they only let her work the graveyard shift. She started heading over to my bed. She had this walk that just said something was not right. She pulled my chart out of the top of the bed. And she looked down and said, "Boy, what's the matter with you?" Now, my first thought was, I hadn't been called boy in a long time. Quickly, though, my second thought was she'd call me anything she wanted to call me. He said, "Boy, you're feeling sorry for yourself, aren't you? Every once in a while, I see somebody like you. Boy, I've been working this war for 10 years. It makes me sick when I see somebody like you. You just got the gift of life, boy." She reached in her holster and grabbed that thermometer. And she was heading down checking tonsils or something. She poked that thing in. She reached up, grabbed the blood pressure cuff. She wrapped around my arm, and then she spread out. You got the picture, huh? She started to pump on that cuff. And she's looking right deep in my eyes. She said, "Boy, I'm going to tell you something my mama told me a long time ago." And she'd stop and just stare at me right in the eye. Y'all ever been through the Lincoln Tunnel? This was my view. My fingernails are just about ready to go off my head. I'm going to please just get it out, babe. Come on. She said, "Boy, I grew up with nothing. But Mom and Dad told me, be thankful for the shoes I had, because someday I was going to meet the man with no feet. Boy, you better think about that." Psst, she let the air out of that cup and caught. She turned out the door.